So your pH is just fine, you used reverse osmosis water, everything looks great in your garden, but for some reason, it just stopped growing. What is going on? Well, in today's video, we're gonna dive into the number one reason that plants just completely stop growing and then turn around and start dying on you. On this channel, we've taken deep dives into transpiration, nutrient lockout, pH, nutrient management, all the things that we're going to discuss in this video. So if you want to learn more about all these individual topics, make sure you check out all those other playlists that I have. And then if you want the full community and all the live streams and the whole library of hydroponic stuff, then you can find that over at the school group. All that's going to be linked up in the description box. Just know that if you're here for hydroponic information because your plant's not growing well, you're in the right spot. Stick around and check out everything I have to offer because we do some pretty deep dives. In this video, we're diving deep into osmotic stress, or what happens when you have too many nutrients in your water while your plant stops growing. And why exactly would it stop growing? Well, touching on transpiration, that's the movement of water from the roots all the way down from the nutrient reservoir up through the roots, through the stem, and then out through the branches and through the bottom of the leaves to these little holes called the stomata. That's the movement of water and air and nutrients, a lot of nutrients. There are other nutrients that travel in other ways. Make sure you check out the full nutrient playlist to understand how nutrients move through your plants. So what's happening on molecular biological level is if there are more nutrient ions outside of the roots than there are inside, then they can't absorb those nutrients. The difference is off. And in fact, if the difference is off so much, if there are so many more nutrients outside than there are inside the plant, then the plant will actually start working in reverse. And it can actually pump water and nutrients out from the roots into the water. And this is actually noticeable in your hydroponic garden. This is called hyperosmotic stress. And at this point, it's pretty hard to reverse it. Your plant will have experienced some cellular damage that can be hard to come back from if you've experienced hyperosmotic stress, where the plant actually starts working in reverse and can make the EC in your garden go up. That's one really noticeable way to determine if you're having hyperosmotic stress. If your water level stays the same, but your EC goes up. If that's happening and you have a relatively high EC for whatever stage of growth your plant is in, then it's a really good chance that it's experiencing hyperosmotic stress and the plant itself is actually putting nutrients back into the water, which is making the EC go up and not down. So as plant detectives, we can now say, okay, our plant's not growing, but our pH is fine, our water's fine, transpiration's fine, but the nutrient level is actually going up. Well, that means we're experiencing hyperosmotic stress, and there are way too many nutrients in the water. Now, obviously, we can try to combat this with an entire flush of our nutrient reservoir and replacing it with much less nutrients. And that will fix the problem most of the time. If it's experienced hyperosmotic stress, you can get your plant to start growing again, but it'll never really be the same, and the fruit ends up coming out pretty stunted too. And a lot of that's just because its growth cycle has been confused. It doesn't know now when to switch from vegetative to flowering growth, and it's going to go based off of other cues like lighting. And so the plant might not be large enough. It probably didn't develop large enough in its vegetative stage to give you really good fruit when it switches over to fruiting stage. And some plants, like spinach, when they experience hyperosmotic stress and then you start to fix it, they immediately bolt and go to flower. Because the plant's essentially just hibernating when you put it into osmotic stress. It's not doing anything. It's not growing at all. It's not taking any nutrients in. Photosynthesis is not really doing anything aside from keeping the plant alive. There's no real growth happening because it's not pulling any nutrients in. And the whole system's just kind of on pause. So you pause the plant, and then when you start it again, it doesn't really know where it left off. So it's likely just going to start flowering and producing its fruit. And because it doesn't quite have the power supply, you didn't allow it to grow large enough in its vegetative growth because you just couldn't. So the fruit's just going to be stunted because of that. I personally cannot believe that osmotic stress is not talked about more. You know, pH is talked about all the time. It's like everything comes down to your pH, but osmotic stress, the amount of nutrients, too many nutrients in your garden, stopping your plant from absorbing nutrients, is hardly ever talked about, and yet it's really the biggest culprit of plants being stunted. Now, I've never actually touched on this topic here on Humble Growth Hydroponics YouTube channel, but I have talked about this in a lot more detail in the courses over on the school community. So if you want more detail on hyperosmotic stress and osmotic stress, how to manage your nutrients, then just hop over to the community in the description box below, and I have tons of guides up there for you. And if you're just dipping your toes into hydroponics, don't dip your toes into your hydroponic garden. I wouldn't recommend that. Then you get a lot of benefit from the free guides that I have linked up in the description box below. Hope this has been helpful. Let me know in the comments below. Until the next one, my name's Chad. Let's grow food. Let's grow freedom. Let's grow smarter. See you in the next one.